Hi, and welcome to If These Heels
If
Could
These
Talk.
Heels Could Talk.
I'm JoyGenea with Solutions by JoyGenea.
And I'm Michelle with Bad Cat Digital. And we kind of matched today, JoyGenea.
We did, and we didn't even call ahead.
We didn't plan it or anything.
It was a mood.
It was a mood.
Off.
It's a mood. It's cooled off. It's jacket weather.
Yep.
Weather.
Yep.
Weather. Weather.
It's
weather.
It's getting under 30 degrees, people. It's getting cold.
Well, and then by the afternoon when the sun comes up, it's 60 degrees outside.
It might be today. It won't, yeah.
It won't tomorrow. It won't forever. So we're going to enjoy the good weather while we have it. That's for sure. So today on If These Heels Can Talk, we are talking about this article that came out on NPR.
Correct.
Skimpflation. Skimp
you
with an
brought
MP.
Yes.
Yes.
Skimpflation.
That's right, JoyGenea. Excellent job.
Well, you helped me.
Aw.
We made sure I got it right.
So the idea here, in general, is that our measurements for inflation don't take into account the relative quality of the goods and services we're receiving, but that is an impact on the value for the dollar consumers get. So the example, and it was an economist named Alan Cole who coined skimpflation, so we have to give credit where credit's due.
Yes, we take none of that.
And he came up with the idea while he was traveling. This is all in the NPR article. We'll link it in the description on the website, but he came up with the description when he was traveling, and the hotel that he stayed at, which he didn't name because he's not,
He's a nice guy.
But the hotel he was staying at had a pretty sketchy continental breakfast.
Well, have you traveled recently? And
I have, and it's true.
Okay.
And look,
I've dealt with the same thing.
We've all dealt with the same thing.
Been somewhere else, and I'm like, wow. Okay,
Yeah.
I get it. Like we're post-COVID. Like this is the thing.
Yeah,
but
costs are going up for
the
businesses.
Costs went up, and I was looking at the quality of what was in front of me,
and it's
I'm
gone
like,
down.
Okay, this is
manufacturers are starting to do it with packaging, thinner plastics, just small changes that cut quality back to keep prices where they're at for consumers, which can be a good thing, but reduces the value of the dollar we're spending. So inflation, because that's what inflation is, right? Getting less for the same amount of money.
Yep.
So, yeah. So this idea of skimpflation and that the, government calculations of inflation don't really take into effect quality. It works in both directions, by the way, but that's for the article to talk about.
Well, and he's not the only one pointing this out.
Right.
I wanted to say that my accountant emailed me this week, and
several accountants.
Yes, and in my networking group, there's also another great accountant, and both of them pointed out, they're like, listen, people aren't talking about this right now, but inflation is happening.
Yep.
And it's going to be happening, and you need to accommodate for this. You need to look at everything and start to make different decisions because. And they did talk. One of them, my accountant that emailed me, did mention something like this. He goes, if you've been shifting your quality,
right,
and so forth, he's like, you're going to want to look at that.
Yep.
And decide if you want to continue down that path.
Well, and so when I think about brand reputation and I think about small businesses, we live and die on brand reputation. I mean, really.
You do. Yes.
And we work really hard to earn the brand reputation that we have. And there are goods and services and products and industries and businesses that are going to survive a change in quality for the value of the dollar, right? We're going to keep flying.
Or they just dominate that market. We don't have a choice.
And we don't have a choice. Right.
I felt that way at the bank yesterday. I had what I call COVID whiplash.
Okay.
And that's where you life before 2020 went one way.
Right.
And so I went to the bank to open up a checking account. It's a long story. But anyways, I went there and they looked at me and they're like, oh, well, do you have an appointment? And I'm like, no, I walked in the door. I brought husband necessary to do this. Like, it worked in our schedule. And they're like, oh, no, you have to make an appointment with a banker. We just don't have the staff to have walk-ins to do that. And, And it took me a moment. I'll totally admit I had like senior COVID whiplash. I was like, "What?
Well, because
you're changing something?" And I
Yeah.
got there, but I got there within our conversation, and he saw it.
And you know, this does take an amount of consumer empathy and compassion, because especially for small businesses, labor is hard. Like, we're not saying that this isn't difficult. We're facing all of these same challenges too.
Yes.
Prices go up, labor costs go up, and what do we do? At some point, you have to turn around and give that increase to your customers.
Well,
you don't want to. You don't love the idea of having that conversation.
No.
Potentially losing customers over that conversation.
Yeah.
But we're all in the same position.
right, the cost of power is going up,
Right.
upwards of 30% for certain markets. Some is 50.
Yeah.
Like this is a real thing.
It's a real thing.
Manufacturing, trying
Yeah.
to get steel right now. I know for a couple of our manufacturing clients, like that just. has
Well, even
skyrocketed.
just the plywood to crate things.
Right.
You know, and then you
Yes.
add labor costs on top of it. Insurance. We just got our insurance estimates for staff for the next year.
Oh, health insurance, you mean?
Yeah, health insurance,
yeah.
and it went up 8%
Yeah.
for the same coverage.
So we can't, as business owners, we can't continue to eat all of that
Right.
and not be passing. Like,
Right.
It's shared.
So here's what I'm kind of thinking. I'm kind
Yeah.
of thinking that large businesses and huge corporations are going to embrace skimflation for as long as possible. I guarantee you that before the price of the Big Mac goes up, the size of the patty is going to go down again. I guarantee you that every fast food place is going to be putting more ice in the cups
Yeah.
and giving you one napkin instead of 3.
Yeah.
And because they're these giant companies who operate on the margins of quantity, they can do that. If you have 6% fewer customers coming into McDonald's, it's not going to be as impactful as if every single McDonald's cup of soda has 10% more ice in it. And that's the what they're willing to do. But this is a huge opportunity for us.
For small businesses.
For small businesses,
Yes.
this is gigantic.
Yes.
Because we have the opportunity to retain the quality that we've worked so hard to build.
That's a really, really awesome point.
It's
and a
huge.
Great perspective. You're
because
right.
I just think about the difference between a vacation experience with an Airbnb that's run by people in the gig economy who have 3 or 4 Airbnbs and do an amazing job cleaning the service,
Yeah.
stock the fridge, keep the kitchen up. Like, that experience is going to be so much better than staying in a chain hotel, getting upcharged for every little thing, because you will now.
I actually have an example from this weekend that would totally go with this. We did a leadership retreat.
Yeah.
And it was last minute, and so there wasn't a ton available. And, so we just, the keyword I always like to use is settled.
Yeah.
We were like,
Yeah.
okay, this is available. It'll be okay. So we had 2 condos and a huge workspace
Right.
available to us. That's what we were using. If you can see a set of steps and up and down. And anyways, when it came time to cook, it took both condos and the cooking area down below to get enough measuring cups, pots and pans,
Right.
pot holders. Like, we had to skimp everywhere. When we would ask for things from management, they were like, oh, no, we don't have that.
Right.
We don't have that. But hand towels, there weren't any. Paper towels to wipe our hands.
And
We're
yet
like,
I'm willing
we're
to
out.
bet the listing said fully stocked kitchen.
Right.
Yeah.
And there were doors we couldn't use
Right.
that were literally taped shut. There were just a lot of things that we were like, okay. And we paid X for this.
Right.
Like, because we paid a premium price for this yet.
Right.
And it was, it was okay. But we've grown to accept paying X for something, and it
Right.
had a fully stocked kitchen, and it had toilet paper. We didn't have to call and ask for it.
Right.
Just some interesting things that I'm like, not okay.
Right. And the thing is that it is short-term uncomfortable to raise your prices. It is. I'm uncomfortable with it. I'm not looking forward to it. I've been putting it off, and I know I need to do it. And I'm working on messaging, and I'm afraid that clients are going to leave.
Messaging does matter.
Messaging matters, and how I place it matters.
Like that banking situation.
Yeah.
I recognized it as he said it. Well, you have to make an appointment. He just kept going back to that.
Right.
And I was like, all you needed to tell me was to make things easier for you. And since we have shifted how our staffing works over the last year, this is the new, we're doing it this way. That's all he needed to say. I would have easily been, oh, he's right. Like, he would have helped me turn those dials and get in gear with him.
And get into that compassion
He
mode.
was very much just like, well, you just schedule an appointment. I'm like, I'm not where you are yet. Like, you need, like, the sales pitch needs to help me get to B. I'm over at A.
Right. And so we have this opportunity to very intentionally message what we need to message. We have the opportunity to say, we're not willing to skimp. We are not willing to make the value of what you receive here different for the same amount of money that you pay. Because of that, we need to increase prices to accommodate the increased costs that our business is facing. And when it's transparent and upfront and people know what is happening, it's just much more likely to land well. Now, it's still gonna suck, and it's still gonna be uncomfortable, and it's still gonna be hard.
Yes.
And you're still not gonna want to do it.
I'm having these conversations now that we're into this a little bit further. I'm like, I have been talking about this with a variety of my business coaching clients and coaching them through that. And you know me, I tend to go with, well, what's the long term?
Right.
I'm like, if you don't raise the prices, but all your prices go up, exactly where does that come? Let's look at your bottom line as you give back 30.
Right.
Your cost goes up 30% in the next, or let's just say 10%. I'm like, well, you'll need to take that out of this end. Are you okay cutting back on your income? Are you okay eating this? Because I'm like, it's money. There's X amount of it.
Right.
So I'm like, you can, and that was one conversation that seems to be helpful.
Yeah.
For some of them is to be like, this is coming. You can either figure out how to have that tough conversation and keep your business alive.
Yep.
And going forward and have good relationships with your clients, or not.
And there are price forward brands, cost saving forward brands for whom changing the prices are going to be not tenable. I mean, it's going to, but we're used to, as consumers, we're used to sacrificing quality for those brands. I know that if I go to Walmart to buy something, it's not going to be as nice as if I buy it somewhere else.
And I now know if I go to the dollar store, I've moved even another level.
Right. If I go to the dollar store and get trash bags, some of them are going to be cut open when I they're going to split open easier. Some of them are going to be split right in the box.
Yep.
I'm going to lose out on a percentage of those trash bags because I bought them for $1.
Right.
And there's going to be 30 in the box instead of 60 in the box because I didn't go to the grocery store and pay $6 for the garbage bags.
Yep.
And that's those are sacrifices I knowingly make as a consumer when I walk into those price forward brands. As retail, as restaurant, I know that the meal that I get at McDonald's is not going to be the meal that I get at the local steakhouse.
We don't drive through Taco Bell.
No, we don't think it's going to be a 4-star experience.
Yeah,
no, we're looking for something fast and cheap because we just need it.
Filler.
We need it fast and cheap. So what I'm trying to say here is that national brands are going to survive skimpflation. Giant companies are going to survive skimpflation because we're used to making sacrifices as consumers for those experiences.
They have us trained.
Yes.
That is their brand.
Yep.
They have us trained.
Yep.
My brand is not based on
my brand is not based on that.
Quality.
Now I do strive to stay accessible in my market, but there are ways to stay accessible while still accurately valuing your service. There are ways to say, how do I adjust a package so that, or how do I offer a class so that my knowledge and expertise can get to people who can't afford to pay for the service we provide? There are ways to be inclusive and accessible to those with less dollar power without misrepresenting or devaluing the services. There are. You just have to get a little creative.
Yep.
But we have this opportunity for this short time frame to say, I'm not willing to do it. I'm unwilling to skimp.
And we need to take advantage of that. Why would we not?
I think we need to take advantage of it.
I agree.
And I think it's all in the messaging, and I think it's all in about we just have to bite the bullet and get it done. And is it going to suck for a little bit? Are people going to complain? Yes. Yes, they are.
Well, okay. So I'm going to challenge that just a little bit in the fact what we're seeing. Remember when a year ago,
Yeah.
if somebody came in contact with someone with COVID,
Yep.
they would quarantine and they would just cancel their few appointments and right, everything would go on Zoom and it was fairly simple. That has so shifted in a year.
Yeah, it really has.
It's really so, and the same kind of pushback that we're seeing with airlines and so forth about the mandatory vaccine.
Right.
That has shifted, like the narrative on that has shifted for people.
Yeah.
I believe the price raising is going to be this, like right now, I think people are mentally ready for it, prepared for it.
Yeah.
If you miss this opportunity and you're
And
too
you
afraid
wait.
to do it and you wait, I have a feeling it's going
The
to be the
moment's
same
gonna
COVID
pass.
whiplash.
Yeah.
Where it's going to come back around.
Because
People
if
are gonna be
you're
like, why didn't you raise it
if
before?
you're in the
Why
first
now?
10% of people who raise the prices, you're doing it for the good. If you're in the middle 50% of the people who raise the prices, then it's like, okay, well, par for the course. But if you're in the last 20% of people who raise the prices, it's like, come on, you too. Right? So
And then you get that feeling they've had the whole time.
yes.
You get that right at the end.
Yeah,
So you're
'cause-
going to get the pushback and grief from everybody in front of you.
Yeah.
And it's not actually yours, but you waited so long.
That you're going to get
You're
it.
gonna get it.
That's a really good point. Because you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
You're
That's
absolutely
kinda how
right.
this has been playing out for
Yeah.
all of us.
Well, and as we look at the realities of this situation, the costs are reality. The labor is reality. Like, we can't just ignore these things. And skimping, in the end, I still don't think it's going to be enough.
I don't think it's going to be enough. I don't think people that have placed their business in the quality sector,
Right.
I don't think it's going to feel good. I think it's going to take a lot of time and energy to skimp.
Yeah.
It does. You got to look at everything. You got to sit and negotiate with people.
Yep.
You can't keep negotiating with your
Vendors forever.
stuff. You can't.
Yeah.
And so there you are, needing to do it differently in the end.
Right.
So I guess my encouragement is just, in the end, this is going to need to happen.
Yep.
It's a lot easier if you do it now while everybody is in that place of understanding that.
Yeah.
You don't want to be one of those last people.
And I truly believe that there is a way to embrace this concept of skimpflation as a brand message and say, I'm not willing to do that. Our brand is not willing to skimp out on your experience. Now, that does mean that you have to live up to it.
Right. You don't get to send that letter, raise the price, and then skimp on quality.
Right.
I promise you there'll be some whiplash on that.
But you do get to send that letter, raise the price, and I promise you somebody will complain, because there are people out there who just complain. And there's going to be, because every business is in the same situation, and we're in a business to business space.
Yes.
So I would say that it's a little easier for us than it is for people facing consumers every day.
Yeah.
Because not only is it a little bit easier to get compassion and understanding from a business that's going through literally the same thing as you are.
Right.
But it's also a volume thing.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't have as many clients as a friend who owns a restaurant has customers in half an hour. And so just a volume thing, like the more people you see, the more likelihood you're going to run into the 1% who complain about everything.
Right.
And so because you're not going to be able to get around it, I would say that the short-term discomfort of raising the price is better than the long-term negative impact on your brand of skimping on quality. And we have the opportunity to take advantage of that now. We have the opportunity to look at it and say, I'm unwilling to do this, message it appropriately, and stand apart yet again from huge, national corporations who just are trying to keep their executive salaries in the same place.
Yeah, just call it what it is.
Because that's not what small businesses are doing. So for everybody out there, a small business owner and Jeff Bezos have about as much in common as you do with Jeff Bezos. All right. So let's just leave the whole narrative behind. Small businesses and families that own businesses on Main Street are not wealthy. No. By any means of the imagination. A lot of times an established business means a comfortable middle class or maybe upper middle class livelihood, but it's almost just like farmers where you have to have a partner who has a job that has insurance because self-employment is rough. Yeah. So all of that to be said,
yes,
when your local restaurant closes down on Monday so that they can staff on Saturday, when your local retailer has the same thing that they had last year, but maybe the sale isn't quite as good, or maybe the price is 5% higher than it was, or maybe the cute little coffee mugs that you were going to buy and last week they were $20 and today they're $20.50. Maybe we can all just chill and let these businesses do what they need to do so that they're around tomorrow.
Yes.
Because nobody's getting rich off the 50 cents on the coffee mug.
And nobody wanted to. I haven't met any business owner yet that I'm coaching that's wanting to raise any of those prices.
No.
There is not. So if you're uncomfortable with it as a business owner, remember that when you're out in other businesses.
Absolutely.
They're not loving needing to do this, but they're just like you, looking at the bottom line and saying, how do we do this better?
I can no longer survive at this proportion.
Right. I don't have a business.
Because I have to pay people, I have to pay my rent, I have to pay my vendors, and they're asking for more, all of them.
Yes.
Than they did 2 years ago, than they did last year. And they need more, which means I need more to be able to survive.
Awesome. This has been a great conversation. Thank
and
you for
we will
bringing
link
this
the
forward.
NPR article. If you look up Skimpflation or Alan Cole, NPR, any of that, combination of that on Google, you should get pretty close. Make sure you spell skimpflation correctly, or you'll end up at Skin Plantation, which is where we started when we were searching for the article before we got on this morning. So
we did. What can we say?
So all of that to be said, thank you so much for your attention to If These Heels Can Talk. Have a great week and really be considering what's best for your brand long term when you're thinking about the upcoming inflation.
Thanks. Bye now.